Imagine strolling through prehistoric Texas, and instead of tumbleweeds, you bump into a giraffe-sized reptile with wings stretching wider than a city bus. That's not a fever dream. It's Quetzalcoatlus, the largest flying animal in Earth's history. And trust me, this thing didn't just fly, it owned the skies. 70 million years ago, the Earth wasn't the calm blue marble we admire from space photos today. It was hot, swampy, filled with creatures that could snap you in half without breaking stride. Dinosaurs ruled the land, sharks ruled the seas, and the skies. The skies were dominated by a freak of nature so large it makes bald eagles look like pigeons fighting over French fries. Quetzalcoatlus wasn't just big, it redefined what big meant. And when I say wingspan like a bus, I mean one of those full-size yellow school buses, not the cute little shuttle vans. You'd look up, squint, and probably start negotiating with whatever higher power you believed in. Now, let's clear something up right away. Quetzalcoatlus was not a dinosaur. Yeah, I know. Shocking. Hollywood loves to toss every prehistoric creature with teeth or wings into the dinosaur bucket. But Quetzalcoatlus was a pterosaur. Different team, same time period. Think of it as the cousin at the dinosaur family reunion who wasn't technically invited, but still shows up, towers over everyone, steals all the snacks, and then casually flaps away without saying goodbye. Dinosaurs might have owned the land, but pterosaurs like this one absolutely owned the skies. And Quetzalcoatlus wasn't just part of the club, it was the VIP. So how big are we really talking? Well, imagine walking outside and spotting a giraffe. Now give that giraffe a massive pair of leathery wings, stretch them wider than a city bus, and tell it to go airborne. Quetzalcoatlus stood about as tall as a giraffe when it was on the ground, roughly 15 to 18 feet tall, and then unfolded wings that spanned a jaw-dropping 36 to 40 feet across. To put that into perspective, that's the same wingspan as a small jet plane, or about 4 compact cars parked bumper to bumper. You wouldn't measure this animal with a ruler, you'd need blueprints. Standing next to it would feel less like meeting an animal and more like encountering a mobile piece of architecture. And yet, despite its outrageous size, Quetzalcoatlus could actually fly. That's the part that makes paleontologists lose sleep at night. Because seriously, how does something the height of a giraffe with the wingspan of a small plane just take off? You'd expect it to need a runway longer than JFK International, or at least a gust of hurricane-level tailwind. But nope. Evolution gave it a clever trick called a quad launch. Picture this. Quetzalcoatlus crouches down low, like it's about to do the world's most intense push-up. It plants those massive arms and legs firmly into the dirt, and then, boom, it vaults upward, using all 4 limbs, springing into the air like a prehistoric Olympic pole vaulter who forgot the pole but didn't care. No dramatic running start, no clumsy takeoff, just raw, explosive power launching a skyscraper with wings. The moment it cleared the ground, those monstrous wings snapped open, and a few heavy flaps later, this giant was gliding through the air as if gravity had politely stepped aside. It's like watching a giraffe suddenly decide it's a pogo stick, except this pogo stick can fly off into the horizon and never come back. Once it was in the air, Quetzalcoatlus wasn't flapping around like some oversized hummingbird desperately burning calories. That would have been a one-way ticket to passing out mid-flight. Instead, this creature was built for soaring. Graceful, almost effortless, it caught rising thermals and rode air currents for miles, the way modern glider pilots dream of doing. Imagine a sleek glider plane, but swap the polished aluminum body for leathery wings and add a long spear of a beak sharp enough to stab through small animals. Scientists think it could glide for hours without a single flap. circling silently over prehistoric plains like a giant shadow that spelled bad news for anything scampering below. To the creatures on the ground, it probably looked less like a bird and more like the sky itself was hunting them. But what exactly was on the menu for a flying skyscraper like this? Here's where things get fascinating. You might expect that something this enormous would swoop down and snatch up mid-sized dinosaurs like an aerial T-Rex with wings. Nope. Turns out Quetzalcoatlus wasn't into the blockbuster kills. The fossil evidence points to a much more down-to-earth, stork-like lifestyle. It likely stalked smaller prey on land, using that long beak to poke around in rivers, wetlands, or open plains. Think lizards, baby dinosaurs, unlucky mammals, maybe even fish from shallow streams. It wasn't built to wrestle a triceratops. It was more like a supersized heron with a bad attitude, grabbing whatever it could swallow whole. Just picture the world's most terrifying stork showing up to deliver a baby dinosaur. That's not family-friendly, it's nightmare fuel with wings. Speaking of looks, let's talk about this thing's design. Because Quetzalcoatlus wasn't just massive, it was weirdly elegant. It had a long, toothless beak, sharp like a built-in pair of tongs, perfect for snatching up prey with surgical precision. Its skeleton was a masterpiece of engineering. Hollow bones strong enough to hold its frame, but light enough to make flight possible. It was basically nature's experiment in aerospace technology, millions of years before humans figured out how to bolt wings onto a hunk of metal. And then there was the body covering. Instead of sleek feathers like a bird, Quetzalcoatlus was wrapped in a fuzzy coat of pycnofibers, prehistoric fluff that wasn't quite feathers, wasn't quite fur, but served as insulation to keep it warm. Imagine a giraffe with wings, then give it a peach fuzz makeover. From a distance it probably looked majestic, but up close, equal parts awe-inspiring and nightmare fuel. Now let's dig into the physics, because this is where it gets absurd. A creature this large shouldn't work. Hollow bones kept it lightweight, but the engineering marvel is how it took off. That quad launch wasn't just a neat trick, it was survival. If Quetzalcoatlus had to flap like a bird to get airborne, it would have keeled over in a heartbeat. Instead, it basically catapulted itself into the sky. That's like a giraffe suddenly dropping into push-up position and then launching into orbit. Scientists even built computer models to test the physics and, yep, it works. Prehistoric CrossFit was on another level. And once airborne, it had range. Some estimates suggest Quetzalcoatlus could soar hundreds of miles in a single flight. It could have easily cruised across what is now Texas without breaking a sweat. Imagine it casually gliding past herds of dinosaurs like an ancient airliner. If you were a smaller creature, you probably prayed daily that you wouldn't get mistaken for a snack. Now, here's where my brain goes off track. What if Quetzalcoatlus existed today? Picture sitting in traffic and one of these things swoops overhead. Forget drones, you'd call air traffic control. Airports would need Quetzalcoatlus lanes. Farmers would file complaints because their cows kept vanishing. And you know someone on Instagram would try to ride one for clout. It would be chaos, but the best kind of chaos. Of course, all good things come to an end. Like many giants of its time, Quetzalcoatlus didn't survive the mass extinction event 66 million years ago. When the asteroid hit, it wasn't just the dinosaurs that checked out. Pterosaurs like Quetzalcoatlus also vanished. One day, it was gliding majestically over Cretaceous Texas. The next, the skies went dark. And just like that, Earth's most outrageous flying experiment was grounded forever. But the legacy? That remains. Every time you see a heron stalking through the shallows or watch an albatross gliding over the ocean, you're seeing echoes of Quetzalcoatlus. A reminder that life on Earth once said, yeah, let's see if a giraffe with bus wings can actually fly. And the answer, astonishingly, was yes. And that's why Quetzalcoatlus still fascinates us today. It wasn't just big. It wasn't just weird. It was proof that evolution can push boundaries in ways that make you question physics, sanity, and the limits of imagination. We look at birds now and think they're impressive, but Quetzalcoatlus makes even the mighty condor look like a toy. If nature ever had a flex, this was it. Quetzalcoatlus isn't just a fossil in a museum, it's a glimpse into a world where the impossible took flight. The next time you see a bird glide overhead, just imagine it scaled up to bus size, silently soaring like a god of the skies. Wild, right? Stick around. There are plenty more prehistoric giants waiting to blow your mind. Like, subscribe, and keep your curiosity soaring.